Welcome to another edition of Be the Change Georgia, where we amplify the voices of the inspiring business leaders surrounding the B Corp and social impact movements across the Southeast to help you learn how to build your legacy at the intersection of people, planet, purpose, and profit. Today, there are more than 8,000 B Corps in over 80 countries and 180 different industries, unified by one common goal: transforming the global economy to benefit all people, communities, and the planet. If you want to learn how to plug into our purpose-driven business community alongside the inspiring leaders we feature on this show, check us out at belocalgeorgia.com or on Instagram or Facebook at belocalgeorgia, and we'll hope to meet you at our next event. Today, you'll have the opportunity to learn from Heather Orrico, Vice President of Enterprise Sales at Comcast Business. In this episode, Heather and I talk about the Comcast RISE program, which was originally created in 2020 to help small businesses impacted by COVID-19. Today, the program continues to support the growth of small businesses and entrepreneurs dedicated to uplifting their local communities. Through May 31st, the RISE program is accepting applications in Richmond, Jacksonville, Houston, Southern Colorado, and you guessed it, Atlanta, Georgia. And in this episode, you'll discover how you can take advantage of these investment opportunities and how programs like RISE positively impact entrepreneurs, businesses, and the communities they serve. Stay tuned to gain valuable insights from Heather and discover how you can leverage opportunities like Comcast RISE to drive growth and make a meaningful impact in your community. Enjoy. Heather Orrico, it's great to have you on Be the Change Georgia. Welcome in. I'm excited to talk to you today.
Thank you. It's great to be on here today with you.
Yeah, so much fun stuff to unpack. And this, it's always fun too. Like as we plan this podcast out too, like your team reached out to us and was like, hey, we're, heard, I forget which podcast Justin heard, but it's really cool. We put this together really fast because we're trying to get ahead of your big deadline for Comcast RISE. So I'm excited to get this out.
It's time to talk about all things RISE with Nate with Be Local Georgia. So we got to get the message out there, right? There's a call to action. There's a deadline. So we got to get going.
Let's go. Let's start with that. What is RISE and how did it start? What are its goals? The little bit of the backstory and a little bit of what you're looking to accomplish.
Great. Well, RISE stands for Representation, Investment, Strength, and Empowerment. And it started really, Nate, at the end of 2020. So we could see this challenge that small business community was having, trying to navigate through the pandemic. And so that's really foundational to the roots of the program, but it is a commitment to supporting, growing, developing all small businesses while also specifically advancing diversity, equity, inclusion, and community involvement and a mission around that. So 500 awards this year will be received. Okay, that's in 5 cities. I'll explain those cities in a moment. But this is a call to action for your Atlanta listeners right now. The deadline drops on May 31st. So we have to get people, Nate, going to ComcastRISE.com to enter their application before May 31st. So that's the first step. Part of the grant is consultative business services, education resources. Think about technology makeovers. There's a monetary component, media component. All of your small business community that's listening has got to get on ComcastRISE.com right now and sign up and apply for that. And then the recipients will be announced in August. And so the 5 cities, in addition to Atlanta, Georgia, we have Jacksonville, Florida, we have Richmond, Virginia, Houston, Texas, and then Southern Colorado. So if you're a small business in those areas, definitely get online and check it out.
That's awesome. And anybody who's like been in the small business space is like, all those are like need to haves, but a lot of times it's can't afford to have. So like media, the technology investment, small business owners, and on top of my nonprofit that hosts this podcast, of like, there's a lot of things you'd love to do, but usually it's literally, it becomes a capital issue. And then sometimes that's the difference between you having that competitive edge over your, the other people in your space or not.
And I think it's, we sit around boardrooms, we sit in meeting rooms, and we talk about what's needed in our communities. And it's being, you use the phrase, right? Be the change. And how do we do that? So the word we like to use a lot is, what's our true impact in the community, and how do we bring the community with us? How do we bring businesses with us? And how do we bring leaders with us? And by the way, how do we bring our employees with us? And so it's really the execution of the true impact in our local areas.
So yeah, I'd love to unpack that a little bit too, of like the markets that y'all pick, because I think you said Atlanta, Jacksonville, Houston, was it Richmond in Southern Colorado?
You got it. That's it. That's right.
Boom, nailed it. What led to the picking those cities, those regions?
It is multifaceted. There's a look at demographic composition in the area. There's a look at number of small businesses entering in the marketplace and how many currently exist. There's a look at economic growth and then opportunity as it relates to growth. And there's a look at additional community involvement. But I'm going to tell you the secret sauce of Comcast and NBC Universal. We employ nearly 200,000 people, and Nate, when you look at those people and say, hey, what is it that your local community leaders are saying to you that they need? What is it that you see in your communities? We live, work, play in these communities, and they know that we have the best view in truly sitting next to, maybe living next to these community leaders and people who are trying to get small business off the ground. And so they look at us and go, hey, what do you think? What do you think is needed in Atlanta? What do you think is needed in Jacksonville? And how can we best support as a company? We do that with frontline leaders. We do that with our frontline teams across all business units. And it just is part of our DNA and how we bring our employee base with us. It is the reason that 2 years in a row, we are top 10 best places to work for, right?
Well, it's funny too, because I'm this big proponent. I'll spare everybody the full soapbox because they probably heard me give it before, but I'm a big proponent of good business being good for business. And you just hit on a couple of the things we always talk about, like employee retention, employee engagement, that passion for your workplace. And again, it's not going to give you all the meaning in your life. I hope it doesn't. But there's that ability to feel like your company is doing more than just putting out a product or putting out a service. It makes you proud to work there. But then also kind of that investment into the community. I was at the State of the City in Atlanta, and I forget who it was, a VP at UPS or something, was talking about, and I want to talk about the Russell Center anyway. So she was talking about their investment in RISE. And one of the things she said was, not only did we invest this money, but now we have, 300 some odd entrepreneurs now shipping with UPS. Like, it was a really important investment for these entrepreneurs to give them a leg up, but also now they're turned into like lifelong customers. So
That's right.
there's the essence of good business being good for business that I love about what y'all are doing. And I think it's important to tell that story and to show what being good stewards of our community does for the long-term sustainability of everybody involved.
That's right. So it's a focus on economic growth, but inside of that, economic mobility. Because the truth is that people, there's a seat for everybody at the table, and it's our job to help get people to the table, right? And so how are we, really encouraging people to get there, promoting them to get there, supporting them, et cetera?
Yeah, because anybody who's ever done this knows how hard it is. If you don't have like you don't come from an entrepreneurial background, you don't know how to raise capital yet. You don't know what I mean. You have an idea. You have a really good idea, and you're smart, and that's about all you got. And then you have to figure the rest out. So
yeah, I saw in one of the media components for RISE, it was one of the leaders talking about, I went from a sales leader to a CEO overnight. Yeah, and they need help, right? And we need to give them help. The onus is on us to provide assistance. So it's partnering to do that. And we do that heavily. You mentioned RISE. We do that heavily through them as a partner in Atlanta.
Can you talk a little bit about your work with RISE? Because we're obviously big fans, even for Be Local Georgia is the host this year for Build Southeast, which is our big like regional B Corp conference. So like DC down to Louisiana. One of our excursions is actually at RISE, and we want to, honestly, we want to show it off as a model to the rest of the region of like, this is what happens when A, you have Jay Bailey, but B, when you have this amazing group of stakeholders and businesses and a community supporting them of like, this is what's possible.
That's right. So Russell Innovation Center for Entrepreneurs is the largest center of its kind in North America, very specifically focused on growing, developing Black entrepreneurs. We could not be more excited and proud of our $1 million grant to help them towards that effort. But let me take it to the next level times two. One is RISE and in Comcast NBC Universal, Nate. We are focused on redesigning and reimagining. What does entrepreneurship look like? How do we do that as a force towards economic growth, as you and I have been talking about? But let's take it one step further. How do we define, how do we encourage, how do we promote equity in entrepreneurship? Because that is a large gap. So we could not have picked and be more excited about a better partner in Atlanta than RISE. They're incredible. And, for us too, that is part of our donation through the organization as part of our Project Up. If you've seen some about that, it's $1 billion commitment to bring people to the internet, to encourage community involvement, and to care for our communities in a new and different way.
That's awesome. Yeah, if anybody doesn't know about RISE, you should definitely.
Today's the day.
Today's the day. Or I can highly recommend you book your ticket to Build Southeast.
That's right.
Right after you fill out your RISE application, book your ticket to Build Southeast.
That's right. And then get into Atlanta, go see the RISE Center. That's right.
Well, we just do. And this city has such an incredible group of abundant mindset, like people in the entrepreneur space, where it's not necessarily about the check you can write. It's about what you bring to the table. We do such a good job of intentionally kind of figuring out who needs to be there. And I mean, we have, I mentioned Jay, we got Rice, we've got, Joey Womack, we've got, the Gathering Spot, Ryan Wilson, TK, like we've just got this incredible community of people who are all looking to figure out, like, what does the future look like, and what do I want it to look like, and how do I play a part in that kind of reimagined capitalism, whatever, reimagined future of America that we want to see.
Well, you're playing a huge part, because part of it is education. We have to get the message out. And so you're playing a big part on the platforms that you support and that you run. It's great.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Our listeners can't see me, but my cheeks are turning red now. Heather, I also want to dig in a little bit deeper on the actual award or the awards, because as a small business owner, I know the answer to this question, but for our listeners, why do programs like Comcast RISE, like the RISE program, matter? Mm-hmm. And how can they make a difference? Like, what all is in it for? And you can go into a little more detail. Like what's in it, and how can it give entrepreneurs kind of a leg up? And we talked about it a little bit, but just love to peel back the onion, to use a horrible business analogy. You
said it, like, hey, overnight, you're a CEO, you have a great idea. And the truth is that you need access. You need access to resources. You need people to lean in with you. So a little bit deeper details about the program is comprehensive business consulting. So we're going to help you look at your business and determine how you can better grow. Maybe that's one specific product. Maybe you're thinking about expanding your portfolio of products. So the consultation is a part of that. Obviously, there's a money grant that you can use to support the growth of your business. There's a media investment where we're going to help you with your advertising and branding and getting the message out about your company and small business that you're spinning up. And or maybe you've been in business for a couple of years, right? We're here to help you. There are educational resources. The list goes on, Nate. So educational resources, there's access to online portals and many different ways that you can lean into. What does leadership and running a business really look like as you transition into that model? I can see the knowledge there and the yes, I get it. And then, of course, finally, it's part of who we are, right? There's a technology makeover. So we're going to lean in with internet services and voice services and cybersecurity, which is really the biggest talking point these days. How do we help secure, your idea and your business along the way?
Oh, I've seen it happen.
Yeah. So that's kind of details of the program. You also asked at the beginning of that why, and we touched a little bit on it, which is be the change. So talk about it, but be about it. And we are committed, and we're committed to taking our army of almost 200,000 people with us along the way, because frankly, we want to be involved in that. We want to be involved in changing our communities, and we want to be involved in the greater good and making sure that things are equitable as we're growing local communities, et cetera.
Yeah, and there's so many things that business ownership brings with it. Everybody focuses on wealth creation, and I'm like, yes, and it's just a strong, middle class that for generations has been kind of the backbone of America, and that's what will bring. I think it solves a lot of society's most pressing issues. So I think it's really cool to see. I mean, and we saw so many commitments made. It's really cool to see so many, especially in Atlanta. When I tell people, I'm like, this work is still happening in Atlanta, and it's really cool to have partners like y'all investing in small business owners because we need it.
And Nate, you and I both know that next big idea is coming from someone we haven't heard of yet, that we don't know yet, that doesn't have a seat at the table yet. That is what real opportunity looks like, is when you're leaning in and saying, how do we help everybody get that seat at the table and everybody contribute to diverse thought in our workforce and in our economies across the nation.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you think about, like, I think of the first time I heard like Jasmine Crow's TED talk about, we don't have a food issue, we have an operations or a logistics issue, like the hunger problems that we have in this country and around the world. It's just logistics, and you're like the ability to reframe some of these things and to see some of these social enterprises come along and really start to tackle problems, but also to tackle them as a for-profit business is really cool. They've come up with a business model that pays them, builds a team, and solves a problem and takes care of community and customers and environment. And it's just, yeah, I think that you're right. That's we get better when we help good ideas thrive and grow.
That's right.
So in case our listeners are listening, so this is going to come out on the 28th. Our deadline's the 31st. We did a quick turnaround.
Woo!
What so y'all got 4 days, go apply. But in case they miss it, is there going to be another round? Is it going to be next year? When will the next round of applications open up? And what other programs can they be looking at through Comcast?
I would say, first of all, follow ComcastRISE.com. Follow the happenings that are going on the website. You should check it out anyways and see all the greater good that's happening. But let's you and I look at each other right now, Nate, and say, we're going to do this again. So we'll come on here and make an announcement. How about that? We'll talk about our winners from August, our recipients from August. We'll talk about some progress, and hopefully we'll have some exciting announcements to make that further the program.
Awesome. And I would love for my Atlanta-based B Corps, and honestly, my B Corps that are then in the other cities as well, like, and especially for Build Southeast, the conference that will be in September, like Jacksonville, y'all are in Florida, that's the Southeast. Yeah. Even Richmond, that's Virginia, that y'all are part of our region. So we'd love to show you off. So I would love for you to apply, and I'd love to be able to like show some love, give you some flowers on stage at Build Southeast. So get those applications in, especially the B Corp community, because we know that y'all are walking the walk, and we would love to hopefully find you some support to help you grow your idea and scale your passion in your business. So B Corps, wink, wink. You can't see me winking, but make sure you check this out and apply. And I think, the next round we do these, let's do them again.
Sounds great.
What other, anything else you wish I would have asked you? It's my favorite way to wrap a podcast. Any questions that I didn't get to that you would love to hear or you'd love to answer?
I would love to share for your listeners a little bit more about what we do in Atlanta and what we do in the entrepreneur community in general. One is that in Atlanta, we, over the past 3 years, we've talked about grants through this program, but we have committed $48 million in kind and cash contributions to Georgia nonprofits. And so 48 million, I'll say it again, because the next one will blow your mind. And then an incremental 1 billion with a B in technology and infrastructure investments in Georgia. Our division headquarters sits right here in the building that I'm in Atlanta. We're very proud of that. We have a lot of key stakeholders here invested, again, live, work, play in the community. And then let's talk about kind of at the headquarters, what's going on in terms of how we continue to support startups. There's really two accelerator programs that we run. One is called Lift Labs and one is Sports Tech. Lift Labs is very specifically focused on artificial intelligence and generative AI. Sports Tech is sports technology. How about that? That's easy to align there. But think about it this way, Nate. If you have, again, these powerful resources and leadership at your company, and you're like, we're constantly thinking about, how do I give back? How do we give back as a company? How do we give back as individuals? That's part of our DNA. And so this is a constant two-way communication for startups in these accelerator programs. So what if tomorrow in the sports, like think of e-gaming and esports world, what if tomorrow you had access to the folks at NBC Sports to have a real conversation to say, hey, what is it that you are seeing as a need that nobody has really solved for yet? And then, by the way, can you give me feedback on this idea I have? That is also a way that we contribute to companies that are coming up and innovating in across the world, really, right? And then finally, one thing that's just near and dear to my heart, also during the pandemic, we stood up something called Lift Zones. You've probably heard of that. We had a goal of over 1,000 Lift Zones. This is where we provide free Wi-Fi in community centers across the nation. And what was happening in the pandemic is that if you're a child that's going to school and now your school is online, guess what, Nate? Not everybody has access to the internet at home. Right? That's sad. We think of that as air. We just take it for granted, right? Not everybody has.
And we lose it when it's out. Oh my God!
And you're like, oh my gosh,
here's our provider.
And so not everybody has that, and we don't really think like that, right? And not everybody has access at home if you were a worker that had to go remote. And so we set up these Lift Zones in the pandemic to get people access to the internet. And we have exceeded our goal, 2 years faster than what we could have even imagined. We're now at 1,250 Lift Zones across the nation. So just another way we continue to get back to our communities.
Yeah. And I want to hit one thing that you said in the first part too, about, that access to somebody that works at, and but the feedback of okay, NBC Sport, all these things of
yeah.
Joey always says his big motto at Goody Nation is relationships matter. And those are the things though that that's the toughest part a lot of the time, is just who might know somebody who could make the introduction that gets me the spot, or that actually is the decision maker. Those things are literally the difference a lot of times between success and failure for a lot of business owners. So I think that's really cool, and it's worth kind of shouting out or calling out a little bit, because it is definitely the thing that most people, how do we increase access to that part of the equation?
That's right. Yeah, there's real work to be done there. And you have to be very intentional. You have to make it part of your playbook every day. And I'm proud to work for a company that does that.
Awesome. I'm glad we did this. This is fun.
Me too. I'm blessed.
And we didn't even get into the fun stuff. Nobody even heard us before we came on the air talking about let's just say our shared musical interests have identified around the same time we went to school. And
right.
We went down a weird rabbit hole, but maybe we'll save that for the next episode.
Sounds good.
So, well, awesome, Heather. Thank you so much for coming on. Everybody, get those applications in. You have 4 days. So we're going to promote the what out of this next week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's all you have. So, but if not, it's not going away. There'll be more rounds. You'll just miss this one. So, but would encourage, especially my B Corps, get involved. If you're in Atlanta, apply. And, it's you're all entrepreneurs, so you get this now, even if you did sales and you hated it and now you're an entrepreneur and you have to sell. The worst thing you're going to get is a no, but you can't get a yes unless you ask. So, get those applications in. And Heather, thanks again for coming on, and excited for the beginning of all the collabs and partnerships and everything that will come after this. So
me too.
Yeah, really great to start building this relationship together. Excited for it.
Me too. Thank you.
Well, that wraps up another edition of Be the Change Georgia. We're grateful, as always, for the opportunity to serve you with this content and grow this incredible community of purpose-driven B Corp leaders. If you haven't already, we would be grateful for you to rate the show wherever you get your podcasts by simply tapping the number of stars you think it deserves and sharing it with a friend. This helps us get the word out and continue to use our collective influence as a force for good. This podcast wouldn't be possible without the help from our production team at Chat with Leaders Media. Learn how you can launch your own podcast to grow your business at chatwithleaders.com. Thanks again for listening, and now go be a leader worth following.